Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Back to Ashes. This is your host, Phoenix. To the elites, thank you so much for your dedication and love toward the channel and myself. It doesn't go unnoticed and is very reciprocated. Before it slips my mind, I would like to also add, this voice is my own, and I am a one-man team. I am not AI, and I do not use AI on my channel. This is my own voice that I use to narrate the stories I edit and upload to YouTube. Therefore, if you are against AI-generated videos, please leave a like, comment, share, and if you would like to join Back to Ashes, please hit that subscribe button and set your notification bell to all. That way you'll be reminded of every time I upload a video. It does help me and the channel greatly. With that being said, it is now time to go back to ashes. For once we arise from the ashes, we are a bigger, brighter, stronger, and a happier person every day. Sit back, relax, kick back, grab a snack, or tuck in and get warm, and prepare for your dose of vocal melatonin entitled Phictive Euphoria. If you are not a fan of fictional stories, this video will not be for you. Right after this intro, there will be an ad. Somewhere in between the first story, there will be an ad, and after that, there will be no more ads within this video. Before I begin reading this first story, I will go ahead and make a disclaimer. It is very riddled with heavy adult language, so if that is not your thing, you can go ahead and skip story 1. Here we go. I don't like to think about the event. In the intervening 10 years since it went down, I've gone out of my way to memory hole any details about what happened. But as much as I try to forget, snippets of the encounter bubble up all the time. I've never told anyone about this, outside of the few people involved. No one else in the world knows it happened. But it did happen. Recently, more and more of these memories have started to stalk me again. Some nights I can't shut off my brain because all I can do is lie in bed and replay the trauma over and over. The last few months have been rough. I couldn't sleep, and it was beginning to affect my day-to-day life. My therapist, who had sensed a change in me, suggested that I confront my trauma head-on and write about it. I thought it was all dumb as hell, but I was desperate. They said, when you have no one to talk to your journal. I've written all this down, hoping that it'll help purge my brain of this whole mess. Deep down, I know it won't, but I have to try because, well, I just have to try. I can't get better if I don't deal with this. All of it. It was Halloween time during my senior year of high school. I wasn't trick-or-treating anymore, but my friends and I were still looking for something to do. Sitting at home during the last holiday of the year seemed like a waste. We were young and restless, but we also knew this would be the last year we saw each other every day. Things were changing, and we were looking to make a few lasting memories while we still could. Someone upstairs must have been listening because we got word that Janet Franklin's aunt had died. While it was a shame that her aunt died, it became a blessing for the senior class. A dead, out-of-town aunt meant that Janet's parents would be gone for a few days for the funeral. Janet couldn't go because she was a hair's breadth away from failing out and couldn't afford to miss any more school. As soon as word got out, everyone knew where we'd be for Halloween. I was psyched for the bonfire, beer, and Brianna Johnson. I had a crush on her for years, and I finally decided to shoot my shot. Were the odds stacked against me? According to my friends and the rational parts of my brain, yes, but I didn't care. I was going to go for the broke. The worst thing that could happen would be that she says no. I'd deal with the fallout for half a year and then go off to college. The best thing? Well, I didn't want to go too far ahead of myself. The evening of the party, I remember there being 3 of us at the liquor store. It was me, Michael, and Moose, the trio. We were friends from way back and spent every day hanging out after school. I can still see us shooting the shit in Moose's garage, smoking dirt weed and laughing ourselves silly. There were always three of us. When we heard a party was going down, we figured we'd score some cool points by bringing alcohol. We weren't unpopular, exactly, but we weren't in the upper echelon of high school society. Looking back, using terms like cool points probably held back our ascent to the heights of high school. But we did have one thing many kids didn't: a connection for hooch. The local place was Royal Liquor, and our dude was Rusty. Rusty looked like his name, a natural-born dirtbag. He knew we were underage, but he sold booze to us anyway. Granted, he overcharged us and pocketed the extra cash, but whatever. Small price to pay for a steady stream of Boone's Farm and Southern comfort. We entered the store and gave him a nod before we ducked down the aisle toward the booze coolers. I was about to grab a bottle when we heard the doorbell chime and saw a cop walk into the store. I kept an eye on him, using the concave mirrors in the store's corners. He was heading my way, so I closed the cooler door and took a detour down the candy aisle until the cop left. As soon as the coast was clear, we grabbed our booze and made our way up to the counter. Rusty shook his greasy hair and laughed like a hyena. You boys were about to shit your shorts when that pig strolled in. We can't all have criminal records, Russ, I said with a grin. Some of us have a future ahead of us. You want me to card you? He said in a tone that wafted between joking and serious. Moose elbowed me. He's fucking with you, dog. I know, Rusty said as he bagged up the bottles. Why the hooch? You guys heading to a party? We were quiet, and Rusty rolled his eyes. You worried I'm going to show up or what? I'm 30, man. Nothing there for me but potential jail time. Yeah, I said. Whole senior class is going. Nice, he said, handing over the bag. If you need more, I'm here till 11. What about condoms? Moose asked with a grin. This bitch thinks he's gonna need them. Shit, you bring enough business here for that party, I'll throw in the jimmies for free. Wrap those rascals, boys. Don't need no fuck prizes. That was gross, and I was embarrassed. Moose and Michael laughed. I nodded because I didn't know what else to do. We better get going, Russ, I said, moving toward the door. We're running late. Take Denton Road, Rusty said with a laugh. Moose shrugged. Might not be a bad idea. It'd save us some time. Michael instantly shook his head no. No way. Not worth it. They say that anyone that goes down Denton has ghosts follow them home. I'm not driving down a haunted road, man, I said. Don't be a bitch, Moose said. Ghosts aren't real. It's just a legend. Is it, though? Rusty asked. Yes, Moose said. It's just cornfields. Corn has to be replanted every year, Rusty said, shaking his head. And no one is planting it along Denton Road. But year after year, those cornfields come back. I've heard that too, Michael said. How do you know? Moose asked Rusty. You're not a farmer. I have hobbies outside this job, man. But if you don't believe me, drive down and see. Have a good night, I said as we walked out. We piled into my truck, Moose in the passenger seat and Michael in the small fold-out side seat behind Moose. It was cramped, but he fit fine. I started the engine and took off. As we drove down Main, we saw the sign for Denton Road fast approaching. Moose looked over at me and shook his head. Dude, it's a straight shot to Janet's house. We don't need to get there that bad, Michael said from the back seat. It's only 20 minutes longer down Willow Street. Fine, Moose said, looking out the window. I hope Brad isn't there. Why? You afraid he's going to beat you up? I asked. First of all, I'd beat his ass, Moose said. Michael and I laughed. Sure, dude. Secondly, Moose continued, I'm looking out for you. I heard he's got a thing for Brianna, too. You gonna give a dude like that an extra half an hour to mac on your lady? I mean, shit, he fucked the drama teacher, right? I don't think he fucked Miss Sanderson, I said. She does fawn all over him, Michael added. Sucks if you missed out on getting to talk to her because you were afraid to drive down a road, Moose said, expertly prodding me. He had a point. Looking back, I wished I had the strength and conviction to ignore him, but I wasn't rational at the moment, and I have to admit, the idea of Brad hooking up with Brianna did piss me off. I pulled over to the side of the road and considered my options. I looked back at Moose and asked, Why do you want to get there so early? I got a girl I like too, he said. Not all about you, bitch. Dude, Michael said, is it worth going down Denton to save 20 minutes? What can happen in 20 minutes? A lot can happen in 20 minutes, Moose argued. Rockets can get to space in 20 minutes. That's true, I agreed. You know the legends, Michael pleaded. The Denton family swore revenge on the town and anyone who came on their property. Then they were wiped out by drunk hillbillies 100 years ago, Moose said. What's your point? 100 years isn't that long, Michael countered. They may be lying in wait. For what? 3 dudes in a truck to drive past their burned-down house and the hanging tree? Hanging tree? I said. What the hell is that? The tree where they were all hung by the townsfolk, Moose said. I heard they were shot. No, Michael said. They were beaten with farm tools, even the children. Then the townspeople put them in the house and burnt it to the ground. Jesus, I said. Why'd they do that? The town thought they were witches, Michael said. They tortured those people, man. History is fucking brutal. Enough, man, Moose said, turning to me. What are you going to do? Sit here and talk about local legends or be the hero of the party for bringing booze and try to get with Brianna? I looked forward. The old weather-beaten sign for Denton Road loomed large in my view. I shifted the truck back into drive and flipped on my blinker. I was going to take Denton Road. Michael sighed and Moose cheered. I smiled, edged my truck back onto the road, and turned down the street. I could practically hear the cheers from the partygoers as I showed up with a bottle of 99 bananas. Denton was a dirt road, and not a well-maintained one. There were tons of potholes, and my poor truck was bouncing like it was a trampoline. I slowed my speed down to 20, but we still were bumping up and down. The fuck? I said, my voice barely audible over the din. Dirt roads go bad fast, Moose said, especially if no one maintains them. You can probably go a little faster, though. Hey now, I'm not trying to fuck up my shocks or suspension. I'm keeping the Black Bullet healthy for as long as I can. Don't call your truck that, Moose said. When you get a truck, you can name it whatever you want. Until then, you have no right to criticize. The sun had set, and since this was a backcountry road, there were no lights save for my headlights. As we inched along, Michael started staring out the back window intently. I'd usually have let it go, but he was staring at something on the left side of the road. You okay? He didn't respond right away. I was about to ask him again when he muttered, I saw something. Sure, I said. Was it your virginity? Moose said with a chuckle. 'Cause we all see that. But Michael didn't laugh. He just kept staring out the window. Moose and I looked at him in the rear view before sharing a glance. We had a conversation in that glance. Michael was acting weird as shit. I decided to turn on the radio to fill the silence. But the damn thing didn't turn on. What the hell? I mumbled. Without looking up, Michael said, "This isn't a surprise." "It's the fuse," Moose said. "Remember, it was giving you issues last week? Because you tried to fix it." "Hey man, you wanted me to try to install a system. You said you could." "I thought I could. When my cousin and I installed his system in a Civic, it worked with no problem. It's probably your shitty truck." "Dude, the bullet is getting us to the party," I said, tapping on the steering wheel. "Don't bash her." That's when all the lights in my cab went out. The engine sputtered and died. We rolled to a stop in the middle of Denton Road with absolutely no light. It was dark as fuck, and we were alone. "Fuck the bullet," Moose said, and I couldn't disagree this time. "This isn't good," Michael said. "What if they come for us?" "Who?" "The people that were following us." It gave me pause, but my rational brain won out. I hadn't noticed anyone in the mirrors. There wasn't anyone back there. They were in the corn. "Don't be a dick, dude," Moose said. "I'd be careful out there," Michael added, not looking away from the window. Moose elbowed me. "You want to take a look at the engine?" I nodded, and Moose and I climbed out of the car. I leaned my head back in and told Michael, "Keep an eye out, just in case." I popped the hood, and Moose and I stared at the engine. "I don't know shit about cars," Moose offered. "My broken radio tells me that much." "Dude," he whispered, "what's up with Michael?" "I don't know," I said. "He seems off." "You think he really saw something?" "I don't think so, but who knows? He's been acting weird since the store." "I mean, what do we do here? He's flipping out. The car won't start, and we're stuck on fucking Denton Road," I said, looking around. "I'm not saying some ghouls are going to get us or anything, but I think you'd agree, this fucking blows." "We should have stayed on Main Street," Moose offered. "No shit," I said, holding back my urge to deck him. That's when Michael called out, "It's there, in the corn." I looked at Moose, and he looked back at me. He shook his head. "Maybe he already broke into the booze," he whispered. "What the fuck are you talking about?" I yelled at. "What's in the corn?" "The family." Not gonna lie to you, that chilled me. I wasn't thinking ghosts. I was thinking killers. Some Charlie Manson bullshit. My brain snapped into survival mode, and I thought about what weapons we had to fight with. A tire iron, a broken bottle. Moose had said before he knew how to make a Molotov, although I had doubts after the radio debacle. "Let's go try the car again," I said to Moose. I slammed the hood, louder than usual, hoping to scare off anyone who might be near us. We both climbed back into the car. Michael didn't move. He just kept staring out the window. It was like he was avoiding us. I looked at Moose and then back at Michael. "Hey, man," I said. "You okay?" He didn't respond right away, just kept staring out the back window. His breathing had slowed like he was afraid to make any noise. "Michael," I said softly, "you see something?" "They're watching us," he said. "They're all around us. I tried to start my truck. The engine whined, wheezed, but wouldn't turn over. I tried again and again. I leaned back and sighed. Just then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw something move alongside the road. It might have been wind or an animal, but I wasn't sure. I leaned over and locked my door. Just then, at the other end of the street, I saw a pair of headlights light up. Moose grinned like an idiot. "Fuck yeah," he said with a noticeable bit of relief to his normal non-ghost-believing voice. "This dude can totally give us a jump." "Thank God," I muttered. "Those lights aren't coming to save us," Michael said, his face still glued to the back window. "The fuck is your deal?" Moose demanded. But Michael didn't respond. Moose was pissed now. "Turn around and look at me, dude." He grabbed Michael's shoulder. But then, my engine started. Moose and I looked forward. I didn't hesitate. I pressed down on the gas pedal. The truck fishtailed a bit on the dirt road, but we lurched forward. I allowed myself to smile. That had been weird as hell, but we were getting out of there. Then the engine died again. We rolled to a stop. I slammed my hand onto the steering wheel in frustration. What the fuck was going on? "How far did you get?" Michael asked. 20 feet, maybe 30, I said. "Why?" "Those lights seem any closer?" Moose and I both looked ahead. They didn't look any closer. "What the fuck?" Moose said, his voice trailing off. "How did you know that?" Just then, at the edge of where my headlights reached, we saw something run across the road into the corn. "You saw—" I started, but Moose nodded, and I didn't need to finish it. "The family," Michael said breathlessly. "Man, fuck the family," Moose said as he kicked open the passenger door. "I'm about to fuck some bitches up." I reached for him, but he was out of the truck before I could grab him. He walked in front of the car, his body casting long shadows down the street, and started screaming a string of obscenities at whoever was out there. I watched in hopes that he would scare them away and in fear that they would rush him. "What the hell is your deal?" I asked Michael. "I said to not come down this road. I said the family cursed it. I said they would be here." "Is this some prank you're pulling? This shit ain't funny, man." He slowly turned his head to face me as Moose yelled out. "What the fuck is that?" I snapped my eyes forward and saw Moose staring out into the dark cornfield. Deep in the waving grain, we saw the ruins of the old Denton farmhouse. It was just a burnt husk at this point. The years of neglect had left it near collapse, but it was still standing, defiant in its own way. Even though the house had no electricity running to it and no one lived there, a light turned on in one of the rooms. I got out of the car. I still, to this day, don't know why I did that, and walked over to Moose. We both stared out at the light. I nudged him, and he nudged back. I just wanted to make sure this was really happening. We heard a car door slam that snapped us both out of our stupor. We both looked back, expecting to see Michael finally joining us, but he was still in the back seat. The fuck was that? From the darkness beyond my headlights, I heard a flat, monotone voice call out, "You boys need help." Moose and I shared another conversation and a look. He hadn't heard a car pull up or any damn thing. But now, There was a car just outside our field of vision. Some stranger standing in the black void suddenly wanted to help us. It felt off. Maybe it's Rusty, Moose offered. This would be the kind of shit he'd pull. That ain't Rusty, man, I said. You boys need help, the stranger repeated. Do you have any cables? I asked, my voice wavering. My truck died. That happens here, they said flatly. So, do you have cables? Yes, the stoic voice said. Come here and get them. Moose said in a whisper, Don't you dare walk to him. You make that weird motherfucker come to us. Just drive ahead, I said, and we'll hook up our cars. Behind us, we heard footsteps crunching on the gravel. It was more than one person. We both turned to see who was there, but we only found an empty truck. Michael was gone. The fuck? I said to no one in particular. Did someone... That's when Moose elbowed me. I turned around. The lights were gone. The car was gone. The man was gone. Instead, there were at least a dozen or so people holding torches in a semicircle. From what I could see, they looked like turn-of-the-century farmers. Their clothes were ratty and stained with dirt. That was bad. But what made it worse was that Michael was standing in front of the group. Dude, I said. What the fuck are you doing, Michael? Michael looked at me, confused as hell. You know these people? He whispered. I know Michael, I said, my mind reeling. Who's Michael? Our friend that's standing in front of a bunch of fucking weirdos. I'll never forget the look Moose gave me. It was fear and confusion and terror. He barely eked out. I've never seen that kid in my life. Have you ever felt like you were outside your own body? A spectator to things that were happening to you? That's what it felt like. This couldn't have been real. It was too fucked up to be real. He's not wrong, Michael said, flashing a mischievous grin. We've never met. That's impossible, I stammered out. We've been friends for years. We go to school together, for God's sake. What the hell are you talking about, dude? What classes do we have together? Michael asked, and my mind went blank. I suddenly didn't remember any classes I had with Michael. I couldn't remember hanging out with him. I couldn't remember being friends with him. I didn't have a memory with Michael in it. It was like he'd been erased from my mind. He was a stranger. We were at the liquor store, I said, trailing off as my mind collapsed in on itself. Were we? He asked with a small laugh. Moose looked at me and suddenly nodded toward the truck. I gave him a look. That let him know I was thinking the same thing. First chance, we run. We weren't as slick as we thought we were being. Thinking of leaving us? Michael said. But you were so eager to join us earlier. Look, man, I said. Sorry we came down here. We didn't mean any disrespect. You were warned. The whole town was warned. And you still didn't listen. Yeah, we're dumb, I said, not knowing what the fuck else to vocalize. This is our land. Always has been. Always will be, Michael said. Everyone should stay off of it. Just then, Michael let out an unearthly scream, and everyone with a torch threw them at us. Moose and I screamed as they came flying at us. We both threw up our arms to block the incoming wall of flames, but as the torches hit the ground around us, they disappeared. We were in total blackness again. Moose and I looked around. Everyone was gone. All the dirty farmers, Michael, the stranger with the car, all gone. There wasn't any noise but the corn blowing in the wind and crickets chirping. Clouds rolled over the moon and made it so dark you couldn't see her hand in front of your face. That's when I felt a hot breath on my right ear. Michael hissed a single word. Run. Just then, my truck's engine roared to life. The headlights nearly blinded us, but we didn't mess around. We scrambled to our feet and dashed into the pickup. I threw it in reverse and slammed on the gas. The truck's back end slid on that gravel, but finally caught, and we tore ass off Denton Road. I wanted to go home, but I knew I couldn't. Not yet. I had to confirm something. I pulled my truck into the liquor store's parking lot, and we dashed inside. Rusty was still there, killing time by reading an old issue of Ooey. He perked up when he saw Moose and me. He quickly stashed the girly mag under the counter. Jesus, for a second I thought you were the boss. Can't get caught looking at titties on company time. You're back for more already? It must be a rager. Rusty, I said, catching my breath. How many of us were there when we came in earlier? Do what? Just answer the question, Moose said, terrified. I followed. Were there 2 of us or 3 of us? Rusty shook his head. I know down in Boone's farm gets you buzzed, but not to the point where you can't count. Just answer, I implored. 2, he said matter-of-factly. Just you and Moose. Why? My heart sank. Moose and I stumbled out and climbed back into my truck. We wouldn't be attending Janet's party. I would not be talking to Brianna. This would not be a night to remember, but one I would try to forget. We went back to Moose's house, drank every ounce of liquor, and passed out. The next day, my brain went into sanity preservation mode, and I forgot what had happened. Moose too. We never spoke about it again. Shit, I wouldn't even know what to say. That was 10 years ago. Like I said, the story has been coming back to me lately. The dream started when I read that the Denton plot had been sold. The new owners had torn down the farmhouse and had cut down the cornfields. This news seemed to trigger flashes of remembrance that soon caught fire in my memory. Suddenly, I couldn't shake the memories, no matter how hard I tried. I'm doing my best to deal, but so far I'm struggling. I often wondered why we weren't killed that night. If legends were to be believed, anyone who tangled with the Denton family ghosts never lived to tell the story. But then it clicked. Death would be too light of a sentence for trespassers. It wasn't enough to appease the family. They wanted me to carry this fear for life. I lost touch with Moose after high school and tried to find him online, but he seems to have disappeared. Wherever he is, I hope he's happy. But deep down, I know he's not. I know he's feeling this too. I think it's just a matter of time before we reconnect. But we need to badly, because Michael came to visit me just last night. The red lights are only making the pain worse. It is an immense, earth-shattering pain in my midsection and in my head. I try to move, but I can't. I tried to speak, but I can't do that either. It hurts too much, and my voice obeys me no more than my joints, my muscles, my bones, or my mind do. And yet, still, there is movement. I can feel myself being lifted up and placed on something. A bed, maybe, or no, a gurney. All right, one of the EMTs say, and several others roll me into the back of an ambulance and climb in behind me. But I'm already fading fast and feeling an inexplicable heat by the time those doors are shut. One EMT, a blonde woman, shoots me a curious little look just as I'm slipping away and says out loud, "Wait, wait, I think I know we're made of that stuff, right?" I turned around. There was a woman there, red-haired and about my age, give or take, and she was alarmingly beautiful. But how long she'd been staring at the exhibit alongside me, I had no idea. "I'm sorry?" "I said, you know we're made of that stuff, right?" She nodded at the museum wall, which depicted in detail the births, life cycles, and deaths of stars. I pursed my lips. "We're made of stars?" "Yep. Isn't it awesome?" She stepped up beside me and moved her arm across the diagram as she spoke. "I just watched a documentary about it last night. Stars are just fusion factories held together by their own gravity. They start off fusing hydrogen to helium, and then they keep going on, fusing heavier and heavier elements until they're fusing the heaviest stuff. Then they exhaust their fuel and collapse under their own weight, and they blow off their outer layers and pretty much shower the galaxy with all these random elements, some of which are eventually used to create life." "Huh. Yeah, I'm Robin, by the way." She extended her hand, and I shook it. Hey, Brian. Nice to meet you." There was an awkward pause before I said, "All right, I got one for you. If you replace the sun with a black hole, what would happen?" "Depends on its mass." "Nope. The answer is, drum roll please, nothing. I mean, everything would get dark and cold, but we wouldn't fall in. Earth's orbit would remain entirely unaffected." "If the black hole had the same mass as the sun." "What?" "What you said would only be true if the black hole in question happened to have the same mass as the sun, which it wouldn't because the sun isn't massive enough to collapse into a black hole." "Oh, damn." "Yep, me 1, you 0. Sorry, pal." "All right," I said. "You're on. Whoever gets the most points by closing time buys drinks." She smiled at that and punched me in the shoulder, just light enough not to sting. "All right, loser. Come on," the EMT says. There is a flurry of activity around me, and there are voices too, and blinding lights, and a cooling down of that monstrous heat. One of the paramedics is looking me over. Then he looks to another colleague, the blonde woman, and he shakes his head slowly. "This one's gone, Rachel." But she continues running tests, running diagnostics, placing a soft hand on my arm in case I'm awake enough to appreciate the comfort. I am. Barely. But I'm fading fast, and that heat is coming right back as I do. "Not yet, he's not," she says. There's pain in her voice that she does her fruitless best to conceal. I already lost one earlier, Todd. I'm not losing. Another one, Robin said, and I laughed and agreed, and we rushed to the back of the line. See? Told you you'd like Ferris wheels. Can't believe you've never been on one before today. She shrugged. Never thought they were as extreme as roller coasters, so I wasn't interested. Well, they're not supposed to be extreme. Ferris wheels are for all the parents waiting on their kids and sick people trying to relax their stomachs so they don't puke funnel cake all over the pavement. And adorable young couples, apparently. And just then, we were waved into the next seat. We sat ourselves down, and moments later, the great wheel began to groan and protest, and finally, to turn. It dragged our cart around an underside, and then lifted it up, up, up to the top of its crest, where we could see the whole city at twilight, and the ships in the harbor that were backlit red with the setting sun, and the clouds that were lined at their tops with just a little bit of starlight. Robin snuggled up next to me and put her head on my shoulder, and I put my arm around her waist. For a moment then, I could have sworn the empty seat in front of us moved on its own, and I furrowed my brow. But then Robin spoke. "Thank you for being here with me," she said. I didn't respond with words. I just kissed her on the head and held her tight as the wheel began taking us down on the 1800 block of Gartersdale, one of the EMTs said. Yeah, another one, I know. Hell of a fucking night, isn't it? The conversation is muffled again in short order. I'm drifting in and out, but the jostling of the room and the sound of an engine tell me we're still in the ambulance. The other paramedics, for their part, continue running tests and checking my vitals, and as they worry, I try to remember what's happened. But it hurts. Damn it, does it hurt. Almost as much as that rushing heat. And the effort is further disrupted when the ambulance hits a bump in the road and I nearly spill out of the gurney. But Rachel puts her steadying hand on my chest and says, "Hang in there, Brian. We're almost there." Robin pointed to the interstate ramp, and I took the turn and put St. Thomas Vineyard away in the rear view. "Still can't believe Mason got married," I said. "He's only known that girl for what, a year? Less?" Robin shrugged. "They were in love. They hardly knew each other. They don't know if whatever they're feeling is genuine, lifelong love, or just new relationship googly eyes that hasn't worn off yet. I guarantee it, and I'll put money on this. They'll be done within a year. Just watch." "You don't know that," she said. There was a brief pause, and then she added, "We've been dating for 2 years. So? So, how far off do you think we are?" I shrugged. "I don't know. Haven't really thought about it." "You haven't thought about it? At all?" "I mean, of course I've thought about it. I don't know if we're ready, you know?" I looked over at her, but she just stared out at the rain with her chin in her palm. So I continued. "Think about it like this. People prepare their whole lives for jobs, right? They start going to school as soon as they can talk, and they're not done till they're in their 20s. And it's all so they can get a piece of paper that says, 'Hey, hire my ass. I'm smart enough to work.' But marriage? Nobody trains for that shit. People just hook up and say, 'Hey, we're 25 or 28. You're cute. I'm cute. Let's spend $15,000 on a giant ceremony and then live as glorified roommates for 5 years until we're both fat and hate each other and get divorced because neither one of us knew or cared how much work this thing would require.'" There was a longer pause then, before she said, with a degree of seriousness I wasn't in the least bit prepared for, "Is that where you think we're headed? Glorified roommates?" Quickly, I calculated an avenue of retreat, but I calculated wrong. "No, not you," I said. "Not us. I mean, most people, most people just dive in and either get divorced or stick it out until somebody gets heart disease. The divorce rate is more than 50% now in the US, but the I don't love you anymore rate? Shit, that's probably close to 90 by the time everyone hits middle age. I just want to make sure you're the right person, you know?" If ever there were words I wish I could have taken back, it was those 12. She said nothing, but I saw her reflection in the window, and the little tear that welled up in the corner of her eye said more than words ever could. "Listen, that came out wrong. I just meant, can you drop me off at my car, please? I thought you wanted to come over. I don't feel good. Please." And we drove in silence for a while, as the rain picked up its pace and fell in sheets and in torrents. After another 20 minutes, I made the turn onto my street and parked. And once I did, she got out without saying so much as a glance and walked across the road to her own car. I ran to follow. "Robin, wait!" I grabbed her lightly by the arm. It was slick with rainwater. "Talk to me, please. What do you want?" I blinked. "I want you to talk to me. No, I mean with us. Where do you want this to go?" "Where do I want this to go? I want to be with you. Listen, I didn't mean to imply that I don't know that. I just want us to be smart about it, you know? Well, maybe love isn't something you can calculate on a fucking spreadsheet, Brian." She was shouting over the cacophony of the storm. "Maybe it's just this thing you feel, you know? And maybe it doesn't make any damn logical sense. Maybe it's not supposed to. But that's part of what makes it special. It's an adventure. It's a jump off the cliff with me type of thing. And yeah, sure, not everyone survives the fall, I guess. But if you find the right person, then a jump off the cliff with me type of adventure? Come on, Robin. We're not writing up a damn dating website profile here. This is real life. There are kids involved and finances and house buying and mortgages and all that shit. Not every day is some cute little rom-com. This is half your life we're talking about. 2/3 even. Okay? All I meant was that you have to be prepared for it. I thought we were prepared." "What do you mean?" She dug through her purse for a moment, and then held up a ring that was brilliant, even when covered in the rain. I felt my heart skip at least a full beat. "Is that, It was my mom's," she said. "She gave it to me before she died. She said, 'Find your partner in crime, Robin. Find someone who'll sweep you off your feet and jump off a cliff with you.'" There was a pause before she added, "And at the time she said it, I thought I knew exactly who that person was." I tried for a moment, but I knew, beyond the shadow of a doubt, that there was no combination of words in the English language that could be strung together to right this ship. "Goodbye, Brian." She kissed me on the cheek and rubbed the back of her hand down it. And then she turned and got into her Civic, and drove off until I couldn't see her taillights at all through the pouring of the rain's coming down hard, boys, another of the EMT said. Careful when you unloading. There were grunts of acknowledgement, and then the back of the ambulance flew open and the sound of the storm utterly exploded into it. I felt the rush of wind and the rain pelting my skin in sheets, and together they helped a bit with the oncoming heat that still I couldn't place. And then I felt movement. The gurney dipped and hit pavement while the paramedics held me down. And then there were shouts and lights and running feet, and then the hospital door. Open? I shouted. The man behind the counter shot me a look, but I shouted it again over the sound of rainfall and through the glass. I said, "Are you open?" And then he pointed at the sign saying the opposite and went back to reading. But I wasn't taking no for an answer. I dug out my wallet and pulled a 20 from the fold and slapped it flat up against the glass. Within seconds, the paper was soaked with rainwater. But it got his attention, and he rolled his eyes and the door clicked in word and slid open. Make it quick, man. I know, I will. Thank you so much. I ran down the aisles and then, true to my word, made it back to the counter in less than a minute. The man put down his book and proceeded with the sale. Date night? He said, as he bagged the card after the flowers. I smiled a bit. Something like that. And then I thanked him and ran back out to my car and got inside, and took out the card and scribbled on its inner sleeve the words, "Jump off a cliff with me." With me. A doctor running alongside the cart motioned to some nurses in the hall, and they ran to follow. He turns to the EMTs. Is he stable? He's slipping. Heart rate's falling. Breathing slowing, not good. Mumbled something about being too hot earlier, but if anything, his temperature's too low. Someone shows the doctor a chart. He reads it as he runs, and his face is grim. Shit. All right, he says. Let's move, I shout at the car I'm passing. Just a little rain, assholes. But it wasn't. It was a lot of rain. Sheets and buckets and torrents of it, in fact. It long since turned the dirt to mud, and it swept up against my windshield like ocean surf. And the road was slick with little rivers of it that ran down past the pebbles. I was going far too fast for such conditions. But I didn't care about that, the doctor said. I just want to get his fluids up, Rachel. The woman from the ambulance runs up and discusses my condition in harsh whispers with the doctor. As I fade, and as the damn heat floods on back in, it becomes impossible to hear what they're saying. But it's abundantly clear from the body language that she hasn't yet given up. Hope for a reunion with these guys. Well, Bolin and Snake said they're against it entirely, so that doesn't bode well. But on the other hand, Sebastian said on multiple occasions that he's willing to do it for the fans. And look what happened with Guns N' Roses. A few years ago, nobody would have thought they'd get back together. I switched the radio off, and then wrapped both hands around the wheel with such force the knuckles turned white on the grip. The car hit 70 miles per hour. 75. 79. The windshield wipers were flying, but they weren't going fast enough. Fuck. I slammed my foot on the brakes as the lights of activity in the road came into view, out of nowhere from the train. The car jolted and shuddered and fought for traction with the pavement, and I felt the tires squeal and the metal of the car grind in. Protest. I don't care if he wants to protest, the doctor snaps back. You tell him to wait in the damn lobby like everyone else. The nurse accepts her orders and heads back out into the hallway. I'm sorry, sir, she says. You can't see him until what? That's my son in there. That's my son. That's... And then there's a scuffle of feet and more shouts as a security guard drags my father from the wing. Rachel pauses as she hears the shouts, and then her eyes well up a bit with tears. And she looks at my face and appears to realize something. But she doesn't say what. The shouts continue, but they fade, and so do I. And in comes the heat as I do. That's my son, my dad says. That's my boy. Let me see my boy. Stop, please. Stop. The police officer had both hands up as my car barreled towards him. Stop. Stop the car. Finally, there was a jolt and a shudder as the tires gained control at last, and the car slammed to a halt. Both the officer and I sighed in relief, and then he approached my window and tapped the glass with his knuckle. I lowered it. I shouted over the rain. I'm sorry, sir. Roads are crazy out here. You okay? He ignored the question. I'm going to need you to sit here for a bit, okay? He said, just until the accident's cleared up. Accident? It's bad. He nodded in the direction of the wreckage, and then he said again, just sit tight. We'll wave you over when there's an open lane. And then he ran off into the storm. I scanned the scene. There was a man on the side of the road, I saw, sitting on the pavement with a poncho for the rainfall and his head in his hands. His SUV was totaled. The front end was bent and twisted and hideously mangled. But the other car was in far, far worse shape than that. I squinted hard and could only make out panels of white amidst charred black chunks of metal and the force of the rain. But it was enough. It was a Civic. Oh God. Oh God, no. 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 I got out of the car, and I left the door hanging open in the rain, and then I ran forward, at least until the officer caught sight of me and ran back over and grabbed me by the shoulders. Hey, he said, I told you to wait in the car. What are you... Robin, I shouted over him. Robin! And then I saw it. A fleeting glimpse of movement. A white sheet flipped on a gurney. A strand of red hair fell from the right side and hung there as the EMTs carted away the body. Robin! I screamed. That's my girl! That's my girl! The officer was confused and stunned and did the only thing he could think to do. Drag me back to my car. No! Stop! I was inconsolable, but in no shape at all to resist. Stop, please. That's my girl. Let me see my girl. Please stop. One of the EMTs, covered in blood from the waist up, turned to look at the spectacle. But then someone shouted her name. Rachel, the doctor says. You with us or what? Let's go. She blinks as she stares at me and then says, yeah, sorry. I just realized this guy was... Just get the charcoal, please. We don't have time. And she does. She runs off to fetch exactly that. And then I feel a hideously invasive sensation. A tube is being placed in my nose, and then I feel it falling down into my throat. I'm too weak to gag, but I somehow manage to clench my fist. A nurse sees the movement, and he holds me down to steady me. Whoa, whoa. Whoa, whoa. You okay, man? My roommate stumbled back as I threw open the door. I charged past him. You're coming in hot, he said again. You good, bro? But I ignored him. I went to the bathroom and I leaned up against the sink for a long moment, and I grabbed my temples and set my jaw and sobbed without a sound. Aching, racking, heaving sobs. I heard a knock. "Hey, man," he said. "You good, dude? Anything I can, get for you, or—" "I'm fine," I managed. It wasn't convincing in the slightest, but I didn't care. I opened up my phone. There was a text from Robin there, from this morning. It read, "I love you." And they were all at once the most beautiful and the most painful words I've ever read. I love you. "I love you too. I'm coming. Hang on, baby. I'm coming." Then I blacked out and found my dad in the contacts list and typed, "I love you, Dad." Moments later, I got a response. "I love you too, son. You okay?" But I ignored it. Then I threw open the cupboard, and I grabbed an old bottle of pills, a nurse said. "Swallowed the whole damn thing. Lucky his roommate called it in when he did." But the doctor is incredulous. Well, that remains to be seen now, doesn't it? Then he turns to the door. "Rach," and she pushes it open with her elbow before he finishes. I got it. I'm here." "All right," he says. "Fingers crossed, people. Let's see if we can't save a psycho." There are isolated chuckles. Rachel, though, almost snaps at her superior for the insult, but then someone says, "Here we go." And then there is thick, wretched black stuff funneling down that tube and down into my throat. I'm almost desperate enough, but not quite strong enough to resist it. I can feel it sliding and hitting bottom and pumping and pulsing. My heart rate is erratic. My breathing is erratic. My ability to comprehend the situation is every bit as erratic. I struggle as much as I can against the restraints, but all my effort and all my strength of arms musters up not more than the faintest whimper. But Rachel hears it. She moves to my side, and she holds my head and says, in soft enough, a whisper that only I can hear the words, "Don't follow her, Brian. Don't follow her. Please, Jesus, I need him here. I need this win." But I begin to fade all the same. One by one, as the spikes on the EKG slow to sporadic pulses, I see the nurses turn to each other and shake their heads. One by one, that is, until there is only a trembling Rachel there, and she's holding on for me tight enough for everyone in the room. "Call it," the doctor says, just as the darkness swirls in and I feel like I'm starting to fall away. The conversation carries on as I pass. 2:32 a.m., one nurse says, but I can hear Rachel screaming in protest. "No, he's not gone. There's still time. There's still time to save him, but there's still..." But she's wrong. I'm already gone. Her voice, her face, those things are behind me as I pass. They're fading away into the darkness that's consuming me and swallowing me whole and throwing me to the winds. And just when the magnitude of the situation dawns on me, then comes the heat. There are monstrous amounts of it. It rips and tears and scorches and scalds, and had I the ability to scream out or even to breathe, I would have done so until my throat was hoarse. But then there was a new pain, a different pain. A hand reaches out of the blackness and it grabs my left side forearm with such mighty force that the resulting pain eclipses that of the heat, and the nails that hand rip right through the flesh. And then I'm being pulled. and there is a rushing wind. It is cool and refreshing and beautiful, and suddenly, I'm somewhere else entirely. I blinked. The darkness was gone, and the heat with it, and that sensation of being devoured. Instead, those things had been replaced with starlit clouds as far off in every direction as the eye could see. But my arms stung like hell all the same. I looked at it. There were nail marks I saw. 4 deep cuts under the inner wrist and a 5th on the side in the shape of a hand. They bled a bit, and then I heard an all too familiar voice. "You okay?" I stood up, slowly, and I turned, holding my damned, stinging arm while I did it, and said, "Robin? Robin? What was that? That darkness, and the heat, and the... It's where you would have spent your eternity, Brian, had I not pulled you out." I had no words other than the weakest, "Thanks." "You know," she said, holding her own arm, "suicide's not exactly what I meant by jumping off a cliff." I blinked again and took a long, deep breath. "Yeah, I guess I didn't think things through." "Not sure you fully realize how much of an understatement that is." "Well, maybe I don't, but you know what? I'd do it again, Robin. I'm serious." She nearly rolled her eyes, but I doubled down on the sentiment. "What I said out there on my street? I'm sorry. I mean it. I'm sorry. You were right. Love isn't about taxes or headaches or just tolerating each other until we're 70. It's like your mom said. It's about sweeping your girl off her feet. It's about jumping over cliffs with someone and not knowing where you'll land. And not caring, as long as you get there together. And if this is where we land, wherever this is, I'm okay with that." And I leaned in for a kiss. But she stopped me with her hand before it landed, and I opened my eyes. "I can tell you've been working on that speech for a while," she said. "Over and over again in my head, in the car until I got to the scene of the wreck." I looked at the ground and then back up at her. "And I realized right then that if you fucking left the earth itself, then I would too. So here I was wrong too." She cut me off. What what do you mean?" "About love. I was wrong. My mother was wrong. It's not just about crap you see in rom-coms and greeting cards, Brian." Again, I blinked. "I know that. I know. It's something you feel in your heart that defies logic and reason, not something you can put on a spreadsheet like you said earlier." She sighed a bit and then said, "Can I show you something?" Uh, I guess so, sure." And then she took my hand and infinity rolled in and faded back out. And all of a sudden, we were somewhere else entirely. "Are we on the Ferris wheel?" "Yep. Turn around." I did, and there we were, past Robin and past me, on the seat above and behind us. I remembered it like yesterday. We were staring out at the whole city at twilight, and the ships in the harbor that were backlit red with the setting sun, and the clouds that were lined at their tops with just a little bit of starlight. I rustled in my seat a bit, and it moved, and past me saw it, and looked like he was about to speak, but before he did, past Robin said, "Thank you for being here with me," and got a kiss on the head. "What do you see?" Robin said. "Us, a year ago, and change. I remember that day like it was yesterday. Your mom had just died, so I took you here to get your mind off things. You did. That was the first day in months I felt truly safe and truly at peace. That was love. I know it was, and I still love you. Just this, it's a kind of love, she said, cutting me off again. And it's absolutely beautiful when it lasts. But can I show you something else? Uh, okay, yeah. She took my hand again, and again, infinity itself rolled in and out like the tide. And then we were somewhere else. The hospital. It looked like St. Joseph's. What do you see here? I looked around, nurses running up and down the hallways, doctors reviewing notes and talking to their patients. I don't know, a hospital. She nodded in the direction of a particular room. Look in there. So I did. There was a woman on the cot. She was emaciated and hairless and deathly frail, and the doctors inside were shutting off the last of the machines. A dying woman, I said. Looks like cancer. Yep. And what about there? I looked down. There was a nurse crouched down in front of the same door, talking to a girl, 8 or 9 years old, if I had to guess, in silly voices. The girl had been crying, but the nurse managed to make her smile a bit, even as her mother died on the other side of the door. Looks like a nurse comforting a little girl. That's right, Robin said. And that little girl will remember that nurse for the rest of her life, even if they never meet again or so much as exchange names, as the lady who came to her in her darkest hour and made her smile. She turned to me. That's love, too, just as beautiful, just as precious as what we had. What's your point? She didn't answer. She just stuck out her hand with a sad smile, and I took it. Infinity faded in and back out a third time. And then we were in the waiting room. See that? Robin pointed to the corner of the room, and I squinted. Oh, hey, what's Dylan doing here? He called the ambulance when you didn't come out of the bathroom, she said. He knew something was wrong, and when they drove you off, he followed them here. Been standing there ever since, asking for information on you every time a nurse walks by. He's starting to annoy them. I watched my roommate for a bit, and sure enough, he grabbed a nurse and asked her a question that I couldn't hear. She said something pleasantly dismissive, and he nodded, and then leaned his head back against the wall and closed his eyes. Wow, I had no idea he cared that much. That's love too, Brian. Would you do the same for him? But she held out her hand again before I could answer, and I took it. For a fourth time, infinity blinked. And then I was in an emergency room, looking down on myself. I was covered in vomit from the charcoal and the pills, but I was still, too. Deathly still. Most of the nurses and the doctors were still walking out the door. But Rachel wasn't. She was crying openly now, and making no effort to hide it. She reached for something. A needle, it looked like, or a syringe. What's she doing? You'll see, soon enough, Robin said. But that there, that's also love. She also held out her hand once again and said, one more, and I took it. And then we were in the parking lot of the same place. The rain was coming down harder than ever. Turn around, Robin said, and I did. And then I stopped. There were no words. It was my father in his car. He was holding a Bible up to his chest with both hands, and he was crying in a way no child should ever have to see their father cry. "And that there," Robin said, "that's the kind of love that can move mountains." I put my hand up against his window. He didn't seem to notice. "He can't see you, Brian. Not from there." I wiped my eyes with the back of my hand. "Okay," I said. "I get it. I fucked up." And then she released my hand, and all of a sudden, we were back in the clouds again, under the stars. I wiped another tear before it fell. "So now what? It's too late for me to go back down there? I'm already gone." Robin took another step forward and said, "Maybe not." She put her hand on my temple, and my eyes rolled back. And then I saw it. Rachel and I are on a beach. Our child is playing out in the surf, and the sun hits her hair just right. And for a moment, it is made of gold. And then the image fades, and another one takes its place. A birthday party. I have silver hair at my temples. Rachel does too. But it doesn't matter. Our little girl is turning 10. And then that image fades too, and is replaced by another, and another, and another. Each one yielding another moment where someone loves someone else enough for it to break through the clouds and be seen forever. Even if the moment itself lasted only for a heartbeat. Finally, there is an image of Rachel and myself on a porch as old as we are, and she holds my hand and says, "I'm glad you didn't follow her." And I say back, "Me too." And I kiss her on the head, and then Robin pulls back her hand, and there we were again, standing out there in the clouds together. "How did you do that?" I asked. She shrugged. "Time has nearly no meaning in this place. I've been here for a while, Brian, and yet the doctors haven't even left your operating room. Don't think too much about it. Just think about what you want." "That," I said, was that my future?" She shrugged again. "Could be. I don't know what you saw, and I don't need to know. Was it enough?" I nodded, and she stepped forward again and said, "Then go and get it. I'll miss you too damn much." "Well, there's nothing wrong with missing someone," she said. "That just means love lasted a little longer than what ignited it. So go ahead and miss me. You owe me that much. Feel the loss. Stand up to the storm like a man and memorize the pain and learn it inside and out and let it roll over you in waves and run its course. And then one day you'll wake up and realize you have scar tissue where the skin used to be, and you'll be stronger than the grief ever was." I can tell you've been working on that speech for a while. Like I said, I've been here for a while. And then she kissed me one last time, and for the briefest moment, all the little scars and cuts and scrapes and nicks in my heart were filled up and made whole. And she said, "You're made up of the stars, kid. Now go light up the world." And then she was gone. "Rachel, okay? I'm not going to tell you again." But I shot upright before the doctor could finish the thought, and I gasped for air when I did, and grabbed at my chest with more strength than I had in hours. There was a needle in it, a bolt of life to the heart, and Rachel broke down in tears when she saw me. "Well, I'll be damned," the doctor said. "Welcome back to the living, son. And Rachel?" She turned around. "Good work, kid. Made me proud." And he left, and she turned back to me and tried to hide a smile while she did it. Hey there. How are you feeling? Better than dead. There was a pause before I added, Hey, I'm glad you got your win. She took my hand and squeezed it. For a moment, she paused when she saw a scar below my wrist that looked like the result of fingernails dragging through flesh. But then she dismissed it and said, I am too, and you'll get yours, okay? I promise you will. I said, I know. And with that, she got up and left the room to go save someone else's life, while I took out my phone and opened up the most recent text and hit reply, Am now. The Urban Legend Project. Part 1. Thank you for volunteering for our project. In this program, we strive to make our volunteers feel safe and welcome in our facilities, alongside the entities that we summon and study. In Phase 1 of the Urban Legend Project, we will be investigating legends that we were told during our childhoods. Were these legends made by parents and cheeky friends to scare kids? Or is there some other truth to these rumors? That's what this project will be about. As a facility, we promise to do our utmost to keep you and the entity in a safe space. However, there are rules and protocols you must follow to ensure your safety and the safety of those around you. Please read about the project you've been assigned below and review the rules carefully. Project name: Bloody Mary. In this project, you will be attempting to summon the infamous Bloody Mary. Be warned, if she is real, she is rumored to be a violent and ruthless spirit. So, do not panic. Review the rules below. The summoning process. Number 1. You will be put into a bathroom with only 2 candles, a mirror, and a toilet. Do not turn on the lights. Number 2. Repeat her name 3 times while staring at the mirror. Do this within 2 minutes. If the candles start going out, she is here. Immediately grab the matches provided to you and relight the candles. Do not let her take you by surprise. Number 3. The room has been provided with spiritual barriers to keep her at bay. So, when your candles have been lit, ask the following questions. In order, immediately. Questions. Please ask these in specific order. No exception. Number 1. What is your story? Number 2. What is it like inside the mirror? Number 3. Are you angry? Number 4. Are you going to harm me? Based on our studies, she will very likely reply yes to the last 2 questions. After she says yes, you must immediately begin the process to trap her back into the mirror. Trapping and exiting process. Number 1. Grab the candle and point it toward her. Number 2. Chant, Mary no more. Mary back into the mirror 3 times. If done correctly, she will go back into the mirror. Number 3. Shatter the mirror with a knife an employee will provide to you once you enter the bathroom. Do not make it known to her that you have a weapon during the questioning. She will get hostile and kill you. Number 4. Exit the bathroom as quickly as you possibly can. Do not take anything from the summoning room. Leave the knife as well when you come out. Number 5. Tell an employee immediately what happened and what you saw. Additional rules. Number 1. If nothing seems to be happening, knock 3 times. An employee will let you out of the testing room. Follow their instructions. Number 2. We are not responsible for what happens to you if you do not follow these rules. Number 3. You may experience symptoms of paranoia, panic attacks, or bad nightmares after the testing is over. Seek help if this is happening. It's only going to get worse. 4. Most of all, have fun. We'll be looking forward to seeing how you do as a volunteer here. Please don't disappoint us. Thank you for choosing to volunteer with us. Truly yours, Project Urban Legend. The Urban Legend Project, Part 2. Thea. I walked out of the testing room with shaky legs and clammy hands. I will never forget Mary's bulging, bloodshot eyes, or her torn-up body as she stared at me, or her voice as she answered my questions. She sounded like she had been crying for years upon years. Her screams and pleas when I banished her back into the mirror will always be ingrained in my mind. But I must go on. I've completed 1 out of 6 testing rooms. I must keep going. I'm not sure what's next for me, but I have to get to Corridor 1A by sunset, or else I may never be able to see her again. I told the silent employee the data I had gathered. They didn't talk at all. They just stared at me. Talking to them was like talking to a wall. It drove me insane. The silence was so loud. I took a deep breath and fumbled with the keyring my wife had given me. The metallic feel of it in my fingers was the only thing keeping me sane in this godforsaken place. The employee directed me to the next testing room, and I went down the empty, echoing corridor to testing room 2. The employee present again silently handed me a paper stating the rules I must follow for this test. Congratulations. If you're reading this, you passed the first test. We want to congratulate and thank you for following the rules we set for you correctly and carefully. With that being said, you still have 5 more tests to go before getting your prize. Below are the rules and regulations you must follow for your second test. Again, please review the rules carefully before entering the room and starting the test. Project name: Blind Maiden. In this project, you will be attempting to summon the Blind Maiden, an infamous Spanish legend that has caught our attention. Please note that this entity will attempt to trick you to your death. Follow these rules carefully. The summoning process. Number 1. You will be put into a bedroom with a laptop at your desk. Sit at this desk and open the search engine on the laptop provided. Number 2. Type in blindmaiden.com. You will be led to a gruesome site full of terrified children with their eyes missing. Do not be one of them. Number 3. Some text in Spanish will appear on the screen with the words aceptar or rechazar. Click aceptar. Your laptop will switch to the silhouette outside your testing room. Watch this camera until you can see your own back. Number 4. Once your back shows on the camera, start asking questions immediately. Do not turn around and look at her. Questions. Ask in this specific order. No exceptions. Number 1. What is your story? Number 2. Why do you only target specific people? Number 3. Are you going to kill me? Number 4. Is there any way to reassure my soul? Based on our studies, the Blind Maiden is a very vengeful spirit whose biggest intent is to kill those who look at her. You must immediately begin the process to get her away from you. Trapping and exiting process. Number 1. Squeeze your eyes closed. Keep them closed. Do not open until you hear the sound of wind blowing. Please be warned, if you only hear silence after hearing the wind blowing, she is tricking you. Stay still. You should hear the sound of a door opening and closing. Number 2, stay in the testing room for a couple of minutes. The laptop should now be back on the gory website. Smash it with the knife provided for you. Do not let her know you have a weapon. Number 3, exit the testing room quietly and neatly. Leave everything you were given in the testing room. Do not take anything. Number 4, talk to the employee immediately and tell them what happened. They will lead you to the next testing room. Additional rules. Number 1, if nothing seems to be happening, close the laptop and notify the employee outside your chambers. You can open the door. Number 2, we are not responsible for what happens to you if you do not follow these rules. Number 3, you may experience symptoms of paranoia, panic attacks, or bad nightmares after the testing is over. Seek help if this is happening. It's only going to get worse. 4, most of all, have fun. Thank you again for following the rules of your first test. We have faith that you will be able to pass the second one because of the good conduct you have been displaying so far. Thank you for choosing to volunteer with us here at Project Urban Legend. I clutched the paper and stared at the testing room. Dread panged in my stomach, and my heart pounded. I needed to do this. I took a deep breath and entered the room, leaving the paper with the employee. The Urban Legend Project, Part 3. Only after 2 tests, my pity for those entities grows. They're trapped in this disgusting facility merely for the pleasure and greed of the one who runs it. The man who runs this place, my father, has always been a greedy man. When I arrived at this facility, I knew that she would be here. My mother, she disappeared. My father claimed she ran off with another man, but I know my mother. I remember the bruises on her arm that I'd see when she tucked me in at night. The sad smile she'd give me as she made my father's breakfast before he'd disappear in the garage. I need to save my mother, and that sentiment stays in my mind as I walk to testing room 3. Even at 44 years old, I remember every cruel and terrible thing my father said about my mother. The way his face would sour every time I mentioned her over the years. He just started ignoring me. But as I clenched the paper the employee in front of testing room 3 gave me, I know that I'm about to do something my father can't possibly ignore. I'm going to save her, no matter how many entities stand in my way. Congratulations! If you're reading this, then you've passed the second test. We must say that we're impressed. The second test is where most volunteers tend to mess up. You must be very attentive to the rules we give you if you've made it to the third test. As always, below is the project named and the rules of the test. Please review them carefully before entering the testing room. Project name, Midnight Man. In this project, you will be summoning the Midnight Man. The Midnight Man is an entity that requires you to move around a bit in order to stay alive. Please note that you will have to stay on top of the supplies given to you for this test. This entity's attacks rely on you not paying attention. Please be careful. Summoning process. Number 1. You will be put into a room simulating a house. It will be a basic home containing a living room, kitchen, 2 bedrooms, and 1 bathroom. Please take your time noting your surroundings before starting the ritual. Number 2. Once you're done noting your surroundings, take the pen and paper provided to you and write your full name on it. Number 3. Cut yourself with the knife provided and allow a drip of blood to land on the paper. Number 4. Turn off all the I clench my jaw as I take notice of the testing room I'm expected to go inside of. My heart instantly sinks. This room is my childhood home. This man must know I'm here. Why else would he do this? I'm suddenly full of disgust and hatred for the man who assisted in bringing me into this world. That's all he ever was to me in the beginning. He's not worthy of the title of father, and I should have realized that a long time ago. And you know what? I'm not going to play this game anymore. These spirits are becoming trapped in this facility because of my doing. I go over to the stoic employee and thrust the paper toward them, not bothering to read the rest of the rules. I'm not doing this. The employee looks at me, her composure suddenly gone because of my rebellion. Before she can say anything, I stride into the testing room, anger and adrenaline fueling me as I grab the paper and pen, write my name, and then shove it toward the camera. "It's me, Father," I practically scream. "The girl you left behind. Show me where my mother is." Suddenly, a hole opens up below my feet, and I fall into pure darkness. All I hear as I plunge, "Oh, my dear Thea, welcome back." And that, dear listeners, brings a close to Phictive Euphoria. I would like to take this moment and thank the rest of the members of BackToAshes. Thank you all so much for your loyal dedication and love for the channel and myself. I love you right back. As I always like to say, without you all, I don't have a voice. BackToAshes wouldn't exist, and I'd literally be sitting here talking to myself. So thank you, thank you, thank you. You are the pillars that keep this channel going. If you are sleeping, I hope Slumberland is treating you comfortably. If you're awake, I hope you've enjoyed this collection. In the meantime, please stay vigilant and take care of yourselves. I'll be reading to you soon. Have yourselves a good morning, a good afternoon, or a good evening. Peace, love, and light to you all.